China's support for Myanmar's military junta and the response from the PDF and ethnic armed groups a detailed analysis. The ongoing civil war in Myanmar following the military coup on February 1st, 2021 has generated immense concern both domestically and internationally. The situation is further complicated by the significant involvement of global powers, most notably China, which has continued to support Myanmar's military junta through diplomatic, economic and military aid. While this has strengthened the junta's position, it has also intensified the resistance from Myanmar's ethnic armed groups, including the People's Defence Forces, PTSAO, the Kachin Independence Army, KIA, the Karen National Union, KNU, and other local militias. These groups have mounted a fierce opposition against the military regime, and their recent attacks against the junta have significantly altered the dynamics of the conflict. This article will explore China's role in backing Myanmar's military regime, examine the response from Myanmar's ethnic armed groups, including the PDF, and discuss the current situation on the ground. Additionally, we will analyse how the conflict has escalated, particularly through the recent actions of the PDF and the increasing pressure on the junta. Disclaimer, the views expressed in this article are for informational purposes only and do not necessarily represent the opinions of Zalinga Media. The information provided is based on various publicly available sources and reflects the ongoing situation in Myanmar. To stay updated on the latest developments, subscribe to Zalinga Media for in-depth analysis and reporting on the crisis. Section China's support for the Myanmar junta, diplomatic, economic and military assistance. China's involvement in Myanmar's military affairs is long-standing, even before the 2021 coup. The Chinese government has consistently backed Myanmar's military regime with economic and military support, both prior to and following Myanmar's brief democratic experiment. Since the coup, China has become a key lifeline for the military junta, offering crucial resources that have allowed the regime to maintain control in the face of widespread resistance to diplomatic support. At the international level, China has shielded Myanmar's military government from meaningful international sanctions. As a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, China has used its veto power to block attempts to impose sanctions on Myanmar's junta. This diplomatic cover has allowed the military regime to weather the political storm following its violent crackdown on pro-democracy protests and its subsequent repression of ethnic armed groups. China's strategic interests in Myanmar, particularly in securing economic corridors and maintaining regional stability, have motivated this support. Moreover, China has publicly endorsed Myanmar's political process under the junta's control, which includes a controversial census and planned elections. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's recent pledge of $3 billion in aid to Myanmar is part of this effort. The funds are earmarked for facilitating a census and elections that the junta claims will serve as a transition towards stability. However, these elections are widely viewed as an attempt by the junta to solidify its power and retain a significant role in any future government, essentially ensuring a return to the military-dominated political system that existed before the coup. Economic assistance. China has been a critical economic partner for Myanmar, especially following the coup. The China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, CMEC, a significant part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, has allowed China to dominate Myanmar's infrastructure and economy. Major projects, including highways, railways, and energy infrastructure, have been funded by Chinese investments, providing a steady source of revenue for Myanmar's military government. The $3 billion in new assistance from China is aimed at strengthening Myanmar's economic infrastructure and ensuring the junta can maintain control over key regions. This assistance helps Myanmar circumvent the impact of Western sanctions and provides the junta with vital resources to continue its military operations. Military support. China has been a primary supplier of arms and military technology to Myanmar's military. Since the coup, reports indicate that China has supplied Myanmar's military with significant amounts of weaponry, including aircraft, artillery, and advanced surveillance equipment. In 2023 alone, Chinese companies reportedly sold approximately $267 million in weaponry to Myanmar, including FTC-2000 jet trainers, Mi-2 helicopters, and artillery systems. These arms have allowed the junta to maintain its military operations, particularly the heavy reliance on airstrikes to suppress opposition forces. The FTC-2000 jets, supplied by China, have become central to the junta's military strategy.
These aircraft are relatively inexpensive compared to Western-made fighters, and are effective against civilian infrastructure and lightly armed forces. As the conflict intensifies and Myanmar's ethnic armed groups resist, these jets have helped the junta assert control over contested areas. China has provided crucial communication technologies, including surveillance and jamming equipment, aiding the junta in tracking and disrupting resistance. Huawei's smart cities technology, in particular, has been controversial for its role in monitoring and suppressing civilian movements. The rise of the People's Defense Forces, PDF, Myanmar's ethnic armed groups fighting for autonomy, have led the growing resistance to the junta. The PDF, an umbrella organization of militias and pro-democracy forces, has mounted increasingly successful attacks on military installations, government offices, and supply routes. These actions have disrupted the junta's operations, and by early 2025, the PDF's strikes in central Myanmar led to significant military losses. Many civilians, disillusioned by the junta's brutality, have joined the PDF, further strengthening the resistance. International support, including humanitarian aid and military training, has bolstered their efforts. Other ethnic armed groups like the KNU, KIA, and Shan State Army, SSA, have also intensified their operations. The KNU, critical of the junta and China's support for it, frequently clashes with the military. The KIA, which controls northern Myanmar, has ramped up its offensives targeting military convoys and infrastructure. China's response. China is focused on preventing the conflict from destabilizing its southern border and affecting investments, particularly in Kachin State. It has pressured ethnic militias like the United We State Army, UWSA, to remain neutral, but groups like the PDF and KIA persist in their resistance.
Despite calls for peace talks from China, many ethnic armed groups are skeptical, viewing China as complicit in the junta's actions. This mistrust grows as China continues supporting the regime. Conclusion: China's support has helped the junta retain control despite growing resistance. However, as ethnic groups like the PDF and KIA grow stronger, the conflict escalates, and Myanmar's future remains uncertain. The role of external powers like China will be crucial in shaping the outcome of this brutal civil war. Thank you for tuning in to Zalangam Media. If you found this analysis insightful, we encourage you to stay informed by subscribing to our channel for regular updates and in-depth reports on the Myanmar conflict and other global issues. Simply click the button below to subscribe and keep up with the latest developments. Subscribe to Zalangam Media.